"Officer," I greeted him warmly. "Just the Elmwood High Marching Band. Talented kids, aren't they? Just needed a spot to practice before the big competition next week. Only here for another hour or so, well within daytime noise limits for temporary community events, I believe." I gestured towards the chaotic but undeniably spirited scene. The officer sighed, looking at the band, then at Karen's furiously twitching curtains, then back at me. He pulled out a small sound meter. He held it up. The reading spiked during a trumpet fanfare, then dropped during a brief pause. "Technically," he yelled over a drums roll, "it's intermittent, and daytime ordinances for temporary events are pretty lenient. Can you maybe ask them to point the big brassy ones away from that house?" He gestured towards Karen's silent fortress. "I'll see what I can do, officer," I promised. He nodded wearily and retreated to his car, likely to file a report under neighbor dispute involving excessive brass. Okay, picture this. A perfect Saturday afternoon. Sun shining, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves, and the dulcet tones of, well, probably Tom Petty, emanating at a perfectly reasonable volume from the portable Bluetooth speaker sitting on my garage workbench. I was elbow deep in trying to fix a wobbly lawn chair, a task made infinitely more bearable by a soundtrack of classic rock radio. Life was good. The volume? Respectable. Neighbor-friendly. You could probably hear a determined cricket chirp over it. Just enough rhythm to make tightening bolts feel slightly less like a descent into DIY purgatory. This idyllic scene of suburban harmony lasted approximately 7 minutes. Then she appeared. Karen, my next-door neighbor. She materialized at the edge of my driveway like a disapproving apparition, drawn by the siren song of Free Fallin' played at a volume that wouldn't disturb a sleeping baby 3 feet away. Her face was already set in its default configuration. Pinched lips, narrowed eyes, an aura of profound offense radiating outwards. I saw her coming, and, out of sheer reflex conditioned by months of low-grade neighborly tension, I reached over and nudged the volume knob down a hair. Too late. "David!" Her voice wasn't loud, but it had the penetrating quality of a dentist's drill aimed directly at your last nerve. "That noise! Honestly, must you subject the entire neighborhood to your incessant racket?" I paused, wrench in hand. "Oh, hi, Karen," I said, trying to inject unwarranted cheerfulness into my voice. "Sorry, is the music bothering you? It's pretty low." I gestured towards the speaker, now emitting Tom Petty at roughly the volume of a strong whisper. "I can turn it down more." I nudged it down again. Now it was practically mime. Karen sniffed, unmoved by my swift compliance. "It's still audible, David. That constant beat. That thump-thump-thumping, it's very disruptive. I have extremely sensitive ears, you know. And some of us," she cast a pointed glance towards her own hermetically sealed house, "appreciate peace and quiet on a Saturday afternoon." Thump-thump-thumping. It was Tom Petty singing about vampires in Reseda. Karen, not Skrillex dropping the bass at Coachella. And her sensitive ears never seemed bothered by Mr. Henderson's leaf blower 3 doors down, which sounded like a 747 trying to take off from his petunias. "It's classic rock, Karen," I offered weakly. "At a, background level during the day." "It's noise pollution," she declared, her voice quivering with indignation. "There are specific HOA bylaws regarding nuisance noise. I looked them up. Section 11, subsection G. Consider this your official warning." She delivered the last 2 words with the grim finality of a judge passing sentence before spinning on her heel and marching back to her silent abode, leaving me alone with my wobbly chair and the ghost of Tom Petty. Now, look, I try to be a good neighbor. I really do. I don't host wild parties. My lawn is mowed with reasonable frequency. I bring in my trash cans on time, mostly. So, despite the utter absurdity of complaining about music quieter than her own judgmental sniffing, I tried to appease the noise queen next door. The following Saturday, I put the speaker inside the garage, door halfway down. Volume set to, "Is this thing even on?" Playing, I don't know, Enya? Something undeniably gentle. Complaint. Apparently, the ethereal wailing was deeply unsettling. Okay, fine. Next weekend, no music. Just a podcast. A nice, calm history podcast about the Ottoman Empire. Volume low enough that I had to strain to hear it over the sound of my own breathing. Complaint. Mumbling voices. Very suspicious. What are you plotting in there, David? This was getting ridiculous. I called my friend Chloe, my usual sounding board for neighborhood insanity. Chloe, I sighed into the phone. She complained about my podcast now, said it sounded suspicious. I was learning about Suleiman the Magnificent. What's suspicious about 16th century Ottoman succession disputes? Chloe laughed, though I could hear the sympathy in her voice. Okay, Dave, she's officially gone off the deep end. You can't live in silence just because your neighbor thinks Enya is unsettling. Tell me about it. I tried talking to her again yesterday, I continued. Cornered her by the mailbox, said, Karen, look, the volume is practically off. What exactly is bothering you? You know what she said? Let me guess, Chloe drawled. It's the vibrations, they're loosening my fillings. Close, she said. It's the bass, David. Even when I can't hear the music, I can feel the bass. It's rattling my commemorative plates. It's structurally unsound. Bass? From your tiny Bluetooth speaker playing a history podcast? Chloe was incredulous. Is she living inside a subwoofer? This isn't about noise anymore, Dave. This is about her needing something to complain about. It's her hobby. And that's when it clicked. Chloe was right. It wasn't about the volume, or the type of music, or the bass that miraculously emanated from my speaker, capable only of producing treble. It was about the principle of me making any sound she could perceive. She wanted silence, my silence. Fine. If my quiet, reasonable, personal noise was unacceptable, what about noise that wasn't mine? Noise that was louder, much louder, but also justifiable? Noise that wasn't racket, but community spirit? Noise that wasn't thump, 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 but brass and percussion? The idea hit me with the force of a cymbal crash. A marching band. Our local high school, the Elmwood High Fighting Ferrets, yes, really, had a massive, award-winning marching band. I'd heard them practicing down at the school field sometimes, a glorious, overwhelming wall of sound. They were always fundraising, always looking for community support, and according to a recent article in the local paper, they were currently struggling for decent outdoor rehearsal space because the main athletic field was being resurfaced. My lawn. It wasn't huge, but it was flat. It was available. What if I offered it? The sheer, beautiful, passive-aggressive audacity of it made me giddy. It wasn't my music. I wouldn't be making the noise. I would simply be a generous, civic-minded homeowner supporting local youth and the arts. How could Karen possibly complain about the Fighting Ferrets practicing their halftime show without looking like a monster who hated children, music, and school spirit? The HOA? What rule could they possibly cite against hosting a temporary school-sanctioned activity? Oh, this was good. This was really good. Operation Brass Knuckles was a go. First step, reconnaissance. I hit the Elmwood High website, found the activities page, and located the contact information for one Mr. Arthur Abernathy, director of bands. Poor Mr. Abernathy. He had no idea what was coming. I drafted the email carefully, pouring on the smarm. Subject, community support for the Fighting Ferrets Marching Band. Dear Mr. Abernathy, my name is David Henderson, and I'm a resident here in Elmwood Park, and a huge admirer of the Fighting Ferrets marching band. Seriously, your halftime show last year was spectacular. I read recently about the challenges with field availability due to the resurfacing project, and as a strong believer in supporting our local schools and arts programs, I wanted to offer a potential solution. My front lawn, while not stadium-sized, is flat, easily accessible, and generally unused on weekends. I would be absolutely honored if the band would consider using it for an upcoming outdoor rehearsal. Think of it as a small token of community appreciation for all your hard work. I'd even be happy to provide some refreshments for the students. Please let me know if this is something you might be interested in exploring. Go Ferrets! Sincerely, a concerned community member and arts supporter, David Henderson. I hit send, feeling a thrill course through me. This was either genius or the prelude to a neighborhood war involving sousaphones. Mr. Abernathy called me the next day. He sounded harried, overworked, and deeply grateful. "Mr. Henderson, Arthur Abernathy here." His voice crackled slightly. "I got your email. Are you serious? You'd let 80 teenagers and their instruments descend upon your lawn?" "Absolutely, Mr. Abernathy," I enthused, laying it on thick. "Huge fan. Happy to help out in any way I can. I know finding good practice space can be tough, especially with the field situation. My lawn's just sitting there. Consider it a community service." "Well, that's incredibly generous," he stammered. "Truly unexpected. We have been struggling to find suitable outdoor space, especially for full ensemble work before the regional competition next month." "Are you sure, though? 80 kids, tubas, drums. It gets pretty loud." "Loud?" I feigned nonchalance, picturing Karen's face. "Oh, I imagine, but it's music. It's school spirit. It's the sound of young people learning and collaborating. Who could possibly object to that?" I paused, then delivered the payload. "My neighbors are all very supportive of community initiatives like this." I mentally crossed my fingers, toes, and possibly my spleen. "Well, all right then." Abernathy sounded relieved. "If you're really sure, how about next Saturday morning? We usually rehearse from 10 till noon. Would that work?" Saturday morning. Prime Karen relaxation and commemorative plate dusting time? "Perfect," I chirped. 10 a.m. sharp sounds great. Looking forward to hearing the Fighting Ferrets up close." "Wonderful. Thank you again, Mr. Henderson. This is a huge help." He sounded genuinely touched. I felt a fleeting pang of guilt, immediately drowned out by the anticipated glory of Karen's reaction to 80 trombones playing Eye of the Tiger 10 yards from her living room window. Operation Brass Knuckles was locked and loaded. Now I just needed to maintain the facade. Step 2. Operation Hydration and Sustenance. 80 teenagers on a potentially sunny Saturday morning would need water, and probably snacks. It would look good, the generous host providing for the hard-working students, so Friday afternoon saw me wrestling cases of bottled water and juice boxes into my garage. I also pre-ordered 10 large pizzas for delivery at exactly 11:30 a.m. the next day. Pepperoni, cheese, veggie. Gotta cater to all tastes when you're weaponizing teenagers. This whole scheme was rapidly becoming more expensive than just soundproofing my garage, but where was the fun in that? As a final touch, I did a quick courtesy round to my other neighbors, the non-Karen ones. "Hey Bob, hey Carol. Just a heads up, the Elmwood High Marching Band might be using my lawn for a quick rehearsal tomorrow morning, around 10. Just trying to help the kids out, you know?" Reactions were mixed. Bob just grunted, "Marching band, huh?" Carol beamed. "Oh, how wonderful! Support the arts!" Mrs. Gable from across the street looked slightly horrified. "A marching band on your lawn? Good heavens!" But crucially, nobody threatened immediate action. They were forewarned. Karen, however, was not. Surprises are more fun, right? Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Too bright, maybe. I nervously paced my living room, peering out the blinds. 9:45 a.m. Right on schedule, 2 yellow school buses rumbled down Maple Street and wheezed to a stop in front of my house. And then they came. Teenagers. So many teenagers. Pouring out of the buses like clowns from a tiny car, but armed with dented trumpets, gleaming trombones, massive tubas that looked heavier than they were, snare drums, bass drums, quads, xylophones on wheels, sousaphones that encircled their bodies like brass pythons, and enough flags and fake rifles for a small military parade. My front lawn, which normally felt adequately sized for, say, 3 gnomes and a sprinkler, suddenly looked like a postage stamp trying to contain a Super Bowl halftime show. Mr. Abernathy blew frantically on a whistle, trying to impose order on the chaos. Instrument cases were flung open, mouthpieces were assembled, valves were oiled, drumsticks tapped nervously on pads. A cacophony of pre-rehearsal noise began to build discordant honks, squeaks, scales climbing uncertainly, drum rudiments echoing off the houses. I took a deep breath. Checked my watch. 9:59 a.m. Across the street, I saw my friend Chloe arrive and settle onto her porch steps, a large bag of popcorn already open in her lap. She gave me a thumbs up and a look that said, "You are certifiably insane, and I wouldn't miss this for the world." I scanned Karen's house. Her blinds were tightly shut, but I could feel the waves of disapproval emanating from within. Any second now. Mr. Abernathy raised his baton high. 80 pairs of eyes, mostly, focused on him. Silence fell for a fraction of a second, a heavy anticipatory pause. Then the baton came down. Bram, wump, trump, trump, trumpet, doot, 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 rat-a-tat-tat-tat. The sound hit me like a physical force. It wasn't just loud, it was everywhere. 80 instruments, mostly brass and percussion, blasting out the opening fanfare of the Elmwood High fight song with the kind of raw, untamed enthusiasm only teenagers can muster. The air vibrated. My windows rattled sympathetically. I felt the bass drum thumps in my sternum. Small birds probably spontaneously combusted mid-flight. And Karen? Her front door didn't just open. It exploded outwards. She burst onto her porch like she'd been fired from a cannon, hair wild, bathrobe askew, face a mask of apoplectic fury that transcended mere rage and ventured into the territory of pure, aneurysm-inducing outrage. She opened her mouth and screamed. I couldn't hear the actual words over the sousaphone line, doing a particularly enthusiastic oompa, but the vein throbbing in her temple told the whole story. She started marching towards my lawn, arms flailing, looking like she was ready to physically wrestle a trombone to the ground. This was it, the moment I'd been waiting for. The glorious, brass-fueled culmination of weeks of petty frustration. It was everything I had dreamed of and more. "Showtime," I muttered, plastering a look of pleasant, neighborly surprise onto my face, and strolled casually towards the edge of my lawn to intercept the impending Karen-pocalypse before she actually assaulted a miner with a clarinet. "Karen!" I yelled over a particularly piercing trumpet flourish. "Great to see you out enjoying the music!" Her head snapped towards me, eyes blazing. "David, what is this? What is this unholy racket? Are you completely mad?" Her voice was a thin shriek, barely audible over the thundering drumline practicing a complex cadence. "It's the Elmwood High Fighting Ferrets Marching Band," I bellowed back cheerfully. "Isn't it wonderful supporting our local youth community spirit?" "Supporting?" she screeched, clutching her head as if the sound waves were physically boring into her skull. "This is torture. It's illegal. It's sonic warfare. Make them stop. Make them stop now!" Just then, Mr. Abernathy, noticing the commotion, and the small, purple-faced woman apparently trying to strangle an invisible tuba player hurried over, looking flustered. "Excuse me, ma'am," he shouted, trying to be heard over his own band. "Is there a problem? Mr. Henderson here very generously offered us his lawn so the students could rehearse for the regional competition." Karen rounded on the poor band director like a cornered viper. "Generously," she spat, spittle flying. "He did this to spite me because I politely requested he turn down his horrible thumping jungle music. This is harassment via sousaphone. I'm calling the police." Now, Karen," I interjected smoothly, stepping between her and the bewildered Mr. Abernathy. "Let's not trouble the police. This is just a healthy display of school spirit." I turned to Abernathy, giving him my most reassuring, "Don't worry about the crazy lady" smile. "Don't mind her, Mr. Abernathy. Just a neighbor who isn't a big supporter of the arts, I suppose. Please continue with your rehearsal. You guys sound really energetic." I gave him a hearty thumbs up. Abernathy looked utterly confused, but faced with Karen's continued incoherent screeching versus my encouraging smile, he retreated back to his band, blew his whistle, and launched them into a rather shaky rendition of Seven Nation Army. Karen continued to scream obscenities that were mercifully swallowed by the pounding bass drum. Eventually, realizing she was making no headway, and possibly risking a stroke, she retreated back into her house, slamming the door so hard I thought I saw the porch light flicker. She immediately reappeared in the window, phone clamped to her ear, face still radiating pure fury. The police did arrive, about 20 minutes later, just as the band was attempting a complex marching maneuver that involved several near collisions and a dropped cymbal. 2 officers emerged from their cruiser, looking deeply resigned to their fate. "Sir," one of them said, approaching me while subtly shielding his ears. "Getting, quite a few noise complaints." "Officer," I greeted him warmly. "Just the Elmwood High Marching Band. Talented kids, aren't they? Just needed a spot to practice before the big competition next week. Only here for another hour or so, well within daytime noise limits for temporary community events, I believe." I gestured towards the chaotic but undeniably spirited scene. The officer sighed, looking at the band, then at Karen's furiously twitching curtains, then back at me. He pulled out a small sound meter. He held it up. The reading spiked during a trumpet fanfare, then dropped during a brief pause. "Technically," he yelled over a drum roll, "it's intermittent, and daytime ordinances for temporary events are pretty lenient. Can you maybe ask them to point the big brassy ones away from that house?" He gestured towards Karen's silent fortress. "I'll see what I can do, officer," I promised. He nodded wearily and retreated to his car, likely to file a report under neighbor dispute involving excessive brass. Around 11:30, the pizzas arrived, causing a brief but welcome pause in the musical assault as 80 teenagers descended upon the delivery guy like locusts. They ate on my lawn, leaving a trail of crusts and empty juice boxes. By noon, Mr. Abernathy blew his whistle, thanked me profusely, while carefully avoiding eye contact with Karen's window, and herded his exhausted, pizza-fueled charges back onto the buses. And then, silence. Blessed, profound, almost shocking silence descended upon Maple Street. It felt empty, anticlimactic almost. The only evidence of the preceding 2 hours was the trampled grass, a few stray pizza crumbs, and the lingering echo of a poorly played tuba note in my inner ear. Did it work? Well, the following Saturday, I cautiously placed my little Bluetooth speaker back on the garage workbench. I put on some Eagles, not loud, volume-level considerate mouse. I kept glancing towards Karen's house, bracing myself. Nothing. Her curtains remained drawn. No angry figure emerged. No HOA notices appeared in my mailbox that week. Maybe the sheer sonic shock and awe of 80 marching ferrets had recalibrated her internal noise-o-meter. Maybe the humiliation of screaming unheard over a drumline had taken the fight out of her. Or maybe, just maybe, she finally realized that complaining about my reasonably played radio might just result in something far, far worse descending upon her precious peace and quiet. We never spoke of the marching band incident. An uneasy silence settled between our houses, thicker than the silence after the band left, but infinitely preferable to the previous state of constant complaint. I still play my music on Saturdays. Not too loud, but audible. And Karen? She stays inside. Maybe she invested in noise-canceling headphones. Maybe she finally took up a hobby. Or maybe, just maybe, somewhere deep inside, she carries the fear of the fighting ferret's return. And honestly, that's music to my ears.